What is good, YouTube? Playoff Wade here coming to y'all with a quick video. We gonna do all the playoff predictions, so it's gonna be 3 o'clock in the morning. The video is gonna be all up. I might even be asleep and upload them in the morning, but we gonna grind it out tonight, and we gonna talk about the playoffs. I couldn't wait. It had a lot of storylines, but we're gonna talk about the Rockets and the Wolves as the first series. This is an interesting series. Obviously, the Wolves should have been higher. We all predicted that the Timberwolves will make it to the playoffs. People thought that last year they flopped. Obviously, this year Karl Anthony Towns got a lot more credit. He put up better numbers last year, but because Zach LaVine went down, he had to pick up his production to help them win games. They ended up having a bad record anyway. But he ended up getting Jimmy Butler, get rid of Chris Dunn, who they really wasn't using anyway, get rid of Zach LaVine, who was injured, and get a guy that can play and take big shots, make big shots, defend the best player, defend point guards, threes and twos, no matter what. They got a two-way superstar in Jimmy Butler and a guy that, has helped the team make it to the playoffs. And as the guy last year in Chicago, it was just Rondo and Wade, but it was Butler's team. He was able to help them get to the playoffs, even though they was a low seed. And he was able to also win 2 games in that series, even though you can give a credit to the whole team. But he did have a big he had a big part in that. So this is stylistically, this is going to be a tough matchup to me for the Wolves. This is just my analysis. I just feel like this is a bad matchup for them. Best case scenario is Jimmy Butler gives James Harden a hard time because he do struggle with the longer athletic guards because James Harden is 6'5" and Jimmy Butler is 6'7". Plus he is super athletic and he's very physical. I think that's going to be the highlight to me. It's just that two guard matchup, James Harden versus Jimmy Butler. But other than that, I think Clint Capella is a solid center. He can defend his position. Nobody really talks about his defense, but he's not bad. He's not terrible. He's not great. He's not amazing either. But he's going to do his job. He's going to, rotate when he can. He's going to rebound the basketball. But Towns is a guy, to me, that nobody in the world can match up, even Joel Embiid. The guy is super athletic. He can stretch the floor. He can play in the pick and roll. He can roll to the rim. He can catch the lob. He can post you up. Clint Capella's gonna have nightmares about this guy, Karl Anthony Towns. He finally got his due, becoming an All-Star this year, and even I honestly had him on my All NBA team, which I put him second under Joel Embiid because Joel Embiid's a better two-way player. But other than that, the guy is a monster on the glass, and he's just gonna be terrifying. Clint Capella and Nene, they're just going to get destroyed. Even PJ Tucker, if they want to go smaller, put some speed and some quickness on them, even if it's with Ryan Anderson to stretch out the floor to keep him out of the paint. But he's not a good defender anyway, but I can see them doing that. They're going to have fits with Towns in that paint. One thing I will say, Andrew Wiggins is the X factor, and I know that sounds crazy. I know that sounds stupid, but for the Wolves, Andrew Wiggins, we don't really know what we're gonna get out of him. He don't seem happy with the Wolves. He don't seem like he likes his role. He doesn't seem like he really likes playing for Jimmy Butler. He still haven't developed the body that we thought he would, and at this time in his career, he hasn't performed well offensively, even with Jimmy Butler going down. We expected a little bit more out of them. They did good enough to make the playoffs, but they should have been good enough to stay in that 4th seed. And they paid him a lot of money. Remember, he got that extension this season, and they're going to be paying him more than Towns and Butler over the next couple of seasons. He's the third option so far on his team. They're going to need Wiggins to step it up. They're going to need him to knock down those corner threes. They're going to need him to be able to create his own shot, even if it's in isolation. They're going to really need him because this Rockets team is explosive. Talking about the Golden State Warriors last year and the year before that, 1 minute you could be in the game, next minute, you getting blew out by 15 to 20 points. James Harden is going to have problems this series, but he averaged 30 points this series, but he do struggle in playoff games because the game slow down is the pick and roll is harder to do because people already game plan, people already scouting, they already got their right lineups. When you in the playoff series, which everybody know, you're game planning for one team into the set, whoever wins 4 games. So they're going to look into his go-to moves. They're going to look into how to stop him, and they got a guy that can stick with him defensively in Jimmy Butler. And if they don't switch, which they like to do, switch to put a big on James Harden and Chris Paul so they can take advantage of that in isolation. I told you guys that's my biggest fear for the Rockets is they become a team that's just going to be like Jamal Crawford and Chris Paul with the Clippers that dribble, 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 take a tough shot, dribble, 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 take a tough shot. And if they resort to that, it might be good enough to beat the Wolves because I don't know if the Wolves can score enough points on this Rockets team because the Rockets do have two-way players. They do suck that they lose by Mute, but they still do have Tucker. They still do have Ariza and other guys on this roster. And Chris Paul obviously can guard the point guard position. Um, which will be Jeff Teague, but Jeff Teague is not really a takeover point guard. He's more of a system point guard. He's going to run the offense. He's going to pick his spots to score, and he's going to try to keep his teammates involved and get out in transition and knock down some spot up threes every once in a while. But I honestly don't know if the Wolves can literally keep up. They're not a great defensive team. If they don't game plan the right way, I can see this ending in 5 very quickly. Not just because James Harden, because if you take out James Harden, you still got to worry about Chris Paul. Chris Paul can still score with the best of them. He's one of the more efficient players. He's virtually unguardable, especially when he gets in that mid range. Worst case scenario, they switch. Best case scenario, they keep putting him in pick and roll if James Harden can't score on Jimmy Butler enough. And if that do happen, remember James Harden can get to the free throw line. He do struggle in the playoffs because of the pressure and because of the game slowing down and they stay home at the shooters. And honestly, you will live with James Harden playing Jimmy Butler straight up one-on-one basketball. That's why they're going to have to switch. But Karl-Anthony Towns is a bigger, quicker, more athletic center, so it's not going to work as much against Towns because he's an athlete. But James Harden, if he resorts to that step back three, step back three, step back three, or dribble, dribble, get a layup, it's going to be tough against this Wolves team, even though they're not a good defensive team. But other than that, that's a tough way to win the series is taking tough shots throughout the series. But worst case scenario, Mike D'Antoni got some stuff up his sleeves. They was able to beat the Thunder last year, and Andre Robertson to me, Andre is one of the best defenders on James Harden. If I had to pick one defender to guard James Harden for 7 games, is Andre, but he was able to beat the Thunder last year anyway. Want to know why? They didn't have enough offense to beat them. And that's why I think that this team, the Wolves, are not a great defensive team. They're not a good help team. They're not a good one-string team. They just, if whatever you find out, I mean, whatever you do, you can find holes in this team defensively, and you can pick them apart. And that's what I say. I think that's what D'Antoni gonna have up his sleeve. He's gonna put out some weird, clunky lineups that's gonna work because you're not really scared of them doing anything defensively to stop this Rockets team besides Jimmy Butler on Harden. And like I said, you still have Chris Paul as your other ball handler, which is going to alleviate that. And remember, you still got a good bench in Joe Johnson and Ryan Anderson and all and everybody damn near this whole team top to bottom is stacked. And you just can't you can't make much mistake like the Warriors. You just can't make that many mistakes on this Rockets team without leaving somebody open for a dunk, layup, or a lob. And then worst case scenario, you leave up somebody open for a three, and then they just keep coming at you. And I want to know if the Wolves are going to be able to defend this offense for 7 games. I mean, for 4 games. Whoever, well, it can go to 7, but whoever gets this series, I will have to go with Rockets. I'm going to go with Rockets in 5 just because I just don't see the Wolves scoring enough. I just don't see them, being able to stop this potent offense, especially with them being able to game plan also. The Timberwolves, if I had more faith if Wiggins was more of a dominant player, um, I would have more faith if, you know, they had more offense. But it's so petty, it's so stupid. But I just don't see them doing enough scoring in this series to beat the Rockets. I can see the Rockets having a tough first and second quarter, and then after that they figure out what works and game plans and just putting them lineups that just stretches out the floor. And if you make one mistake, you're done. And nobody could guard this Rockets team for 82 games. And they won the highest games this year because of their offense. And I'm not going to say like they don't play defense, but because they do. But it just is going to be hard to do this. Tom Thibodeau is a defensive coach. He is a guy that takes his job serious. He is hard on his players, but he's been there for 2 years, and his team is still a mediocre defensive team to bad. And if they can't find a way to stay together, if they can't find ways to get something out of Wiggins, to get something out of Teague, and get something out of their bench with Derrick Rose, if he can have some good games, or even Jamal Crawford knock down some shots. And on top of that, you don't really fear anybody from the 3-point line. I do like Jamal Crawford and stuff like that on his bench, but they don't have enough floor spacing to where if the game gets out of hand, they can fight their way back. Obviously, Towns and Jimmy Butler going to do whatever they want to do, but you're going 2 on 10 because this team can go probably even 12 deep with Gerald Green in them. So you basically got two guys that's going to be giving you 20 points a game guaranteed, and you hope you can get something out of Teague and Wiggins, and that might literally not be enough against this potent offense. And like I said, the Rockets are respectable defensively, so it's not going to be like who can score 100, who can outscore each other. It's going to be, can the Wolves do enough to stay within the game and beat them up, and if they can make it close, rely on their stars to bring it home. But like I said, James Harden is the MVP. Chris Paul is still one of the top 10 players in the league. It's going to be hard to bet against a duo, especially compared to they've already won playoff series before, and that's something you can't say about Karl Anthony Towns and Wiggins. So let me know what you guys think. Do you think the Wolves I'm underrating them a little bit? Do you think I'm overrating the Rockets? Do you think the Rockets going to struggle a little bit more because of the inside presence of Towns, or do you think just like me, they just don't have enough defensively, they just don't have enough offensively, and they're not deep enough? So if they play, they like Tibbs, you like to play his players a lot of minutes. Will they have enough legs in a 7-game series to stick with the Rockets? I say no. I say the series ends in 5. And let me know what you guys think. Check out my website, analysisplayground.com. Link in the description in the comment section below. Check out my Facebook page, analysisplayground.com. Link in the description in the comment section below. And let me know who you guys think gonna win this series: the Wolves for an upset, or the Rockets came back to earth a little bit these last couple games, and they did become a little bit predictable. So I give y'all credit on that. They've been losing a lot of games. They've been losing to a lot of playoff teams. So teams are starting to figure them out. But D'Antoni is one of the best offensive coaches in NBA history. And, with this lineup and these versatile players that can play multiple positions, they can put out some scary lineups on this Wolves team, and they might not have enough. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below.